Hello, everyone, and welcome to my May bone reading energy forecast. I apologize in advance if this video is a little shaky. My setup is temperamental, to say the least. So we'll do the best we can, and let's get right into it. So as you can see, we've got quite a lot happening in the circle here. That means there's actually a lot going on. We've seen in the past couple of months that there hasn't been a lot happening actively that can be done, that can be changed, that can, that is actually in the works. So for May, we're seeing quite a lot happening. So let's talk first about the action item here. We've discussed this in the past, but if you haven't seen the past videos, the action item, this bracelet here, anything that falls inside it is something that you actively can work on, that you can change, that you can make happen. So as we've seen in past months, there really isn't anything inside the action item, but we are seeing stuff moving into it, namely the pie piece here. So the pie, it's a Trivial Pursuit piece, but what it means is acquiring knowledge. So it's not quite fully in the circle yet, so this is just something to be mindful of. It's not something you actively need to be doing, although you can, sort of, the term is force the hand, I believe is the term, and, start working on it in the interest of being prepared for what's coming ahead. So this is, filling this pie wedge with knowledge, acquiring information. This might be reading books. This might mean going back to school. In whatever way this is meant to, whatever way that means the most to you, you should be going ahead and acquiring knowledge in some way, shape, or form. So the next thing we're going to talk about here, this little guy, this is a seed pod. And the interesting thing about the seed pod, I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but when you drop it from a height, no, you can't really see it, but when you drop it from a height, it sort of helicopters around and spins. So this is, what this is trying to communicate to me is movement without wings. So we see things that shouldn't be able to fly, but can, sort of, like a flying squirrel doesn't truly fly, it glides, but it's able to move through the air, even though logically we think of squirrels as not being, able to do that, which I guess is a convoluted way of saying, things might not look the way you think that they're going to look or the way that they should look, but taking things at face value. I'll give you a personal example. I've been starting to date recently, and I went on several dates with someone who I wouldn't normally have swiped right on, just based on appearance alone. But I, for whatever reason, decided to give this person a chance, and I quite like them. So things may not always be exactly what you want or what you picture, but they might be what's right for you, they might be what you need. So, this is a time to take things for being more than meets the eye, I guess. Looking beyond the surface. So the next thing we're going to talk about here, I believe this bad boy has come up a couple of times. This is the octopus tentacle. Let's see if you can get a better look at this. So this is sort of, in this instance, I believe it's a different meaning that has come across in the past, but octopi have the ability to regrow tentacles. So this is speaking to me of regrowth, regeneration, sometimes when something bad happens to us, it feels like it's the end of the world. It feels like we'll never recover, like we'll never get back a piece of ourselves. It feels like we're broken. And oftentimes that isn't the case. Oftentimes we're able to grow and change and develop and learn and become better than we were before. So this is looking at things that feel really bad as an opportunity to grow and change and develop and become a better, stronger, more well-rounded person. So next we're going to talk about this one, the puzzle piece. The puzzle piece, as you can probably imagine, is about fitting in. And oftentimes when we think of fitting in, we think that it has to look a certain way. We have to look a certain way. We have to behave a certain way. Often what comes to mind when we talk about fitting in is something like high school, where it's very, I want to use the term cliquey, and we have to sort of find our niche. But in this instance, I want you to think of fitting in as a puzzle piece. Not every puzzle piece looks the same. Some puzzle pieces look, straight up weird. Like sometimes there's puzzles where the pieces are shaped like birds or wild animals or something. So it's fitting in exactly the way you are, finding your people, finding your place in the world, and being accepted as you are at face value without having to change yourself to be liked. The next thing we're going to talk about is this little cinnamon stick. And the cinnamon stick, I'm going to be really cliche here and talk about the spice of life. So looking for ways you can maybe make your life more, I'm going to be really cheesy here and say flavorful. Finding ways to make life more interesting. And sometimes when we say that, interesting means stressful, but this is meaning the exact opposite. It's not about adding stress into your life. It's about creating enjoyment, creating fun. This might look like picking up a hobby that you once had that you really enjoyed and for whatever reason stopped doing. This might mean picking that back up. This might mean finding a new hobby entirely. It might mean changing what you... Okay, I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but I'm going to give you an example. I never really liked hiking when I was growing up, but as I'm getting older, I'm sort of realizing that hiking doesn't necessarily have to be like racing up a mountainside. Hiking can be at my own pace. It can be taking a break whenever I want. It can, just be dawdling around and enjoying nature. It doesn't have to be an Olympic event. So I guess what I'm trying to say is reclaiming something that maybe you didn't enjoy before, but think you might enjoy now. We're always changing, and, our palate is changing, not even just in a food sense, but in other senses as well. And even if you try something and you don't end up liking it, that's okay. You just learned something. And there's no such thing as wasted knowledge, in my opinion. So next we're going to talk about this little bad boy here. I'm going to try and give you a better look at it. That, my friends, is quite literally my umbilical stump. So this is actually quite interesting that it's coming up for May, because Mother's Day is in May. So this is maybe a message to think about your maternal connection, and it doesn't have to be to your like flesh and blood mother. It can be to a mother figure. It can be to anybody in your life who is caring and you think of as caring for you. So just thinking about connections to these kind of people, and nurturing this bond that you have with these people, maybe repairing bonds that are a little acrimonious, just, finding some way to honor these people, but also honor yourself and where you come from, honoring your lineage, your maternal ancestors. Oftentimes, I'm just going to communicate the message that's coming through me, and maybe it will resonate for you, maybe it won't. Sometimes there's generational trauma, and this is a good time for you to sort of look at this generational trauma that may exist and seeing if there's anything you can do to address it, to work through it, or even just make an offering to your maternal ancestors. This is coming through quite strongly. You'll intuitively know how to make this offering, what the offering should be, where, when. You'll know if you sit with it and maybe meditate on it a little bit. But now is a really, really, really good time for you to consider doing an offering of this type. So next we're going to talk about these two guys here that are sort of eking their way into the circle, but not quite there yet. So this guy here, this is a beak. I believe it's a raven's beak. It used to be connected. I'll show you the other half of the skull here. It used to be one piece, and through wear and tear in my bone set, it broke, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So this is talking about communication. So ravens are often seen as being extremely intelligent, but birds are also often a symbol of spiritual knowledge. So this is sort of communicating stuff that may be a little bit esoteric, but communicating it correctly, communicating it to the right people, being careful about who you're showing all your cards to. Yeah, that's the extent of the message. I'm not meant to communicate anything else to you. Whatever you intuitively get from that message is what is meant to be told to you. So let that sit with you and figure out what the universe, what the bones, what the ancestors are trying to tell you specifically about that. And the other one here this is an atlas bone from the lynx. It's come up several times before. So this is just, you may have a lot on your shoulders right now. And this is sort of about bearing that burden with grace. The universe, the bones, the ancestors, they just want you to know that you're seen. You're being seen. You're appreciated for bearing this burden. And just know that there are forces at work who want to help you if you ask for it. They cannot help you unless you actively ask for assistance. And that's really important to know and remember. And the final thing we've got here, I don't know if you can see it very well. There's a little ant in this marble. So this is also a message about bearing a great weight. Again, ants carry so much weight. They can carry something like 300 times their body weight. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure the exact figure, but they can carry great, great, great burdens. And you wouldn't think it possible. So again, this is just coming back to this Lynx Atlas, asking for help. And, if an ant finds something that it can't carry, it goes back to the hill and it communicates, hey, there's this cool thing. I think we should go and work as a team to carry it. And sometimes you'll see, teams of ants carrying huge, huge things. So this is all about working together, coming together as a community to accomplish great, great things. So I want to say this is a message about finding a cause you're passionate about and working together to support this cause, to enact this change, whatever that may be for you. You've got a team of people. You only need to find them and ask. All right, so that's my bone reading for the month of May. I hope it gave you some useful information about the month ahead, and I hope you will tune in for next month's reading. And thank you very much for listening.